In the previous video, we checked the Mendelian inheritance. We are going to discuss now other types of inheritance. We noticed that two alleles were present for one trait. One was dominant and one was recessive. Like the dominant is the yellow seed and the recessive was for the green seed in the pea plant. Now, what would happen, let's say that we have a red flower and this is a snapdragon's plant, and we have a white flower. Now, these are the parent generation, and the offsprings, all of them in the F1 generation, turn into pink flowers. Now, it's between the two colors. So we call this type of inheritance is incomplete dominance. So none of them are dominant, so they are incomplete in the phenotype. It raises a question, is that really blending? Would that support the blending hypothesis, what we talked about at the beginning of the unit? Well, let's see the F1 generation when we cross them, the two pink flowers. And in the F2 generation, what we will notice, 25% of the flowers will be red, 50% will be pink, and 25% will be white color. So, is that the blending really true? Not really, because the red is not going to be a blend for pinks, and the white is not a blend for pinks either. So if we want to use the Punnett square, the gametes are capital R's and capital, they will contain capital R's and capital Y depending on the colors. And when we do the Punnett square, RR will be the red color, or the heterozygous will be the pink, and the homozygous W will be again different color, the white. Now, this was incomplete dominance. Another flower, it's a different flower. Again, it's red and white, but this is like the petunia. So the parent generation, red and white. And when we cross them, we will have a flower that contains red as well as white colors in the petals. Now, whoa, this is different than incomplete dominance. In here, we call it codominance. So both of the alleles are present in the phenotype, both of them. It can happen in nature, not only with the flowers like petunia, but also with chickens. The problem is I can't draw chickens, so we are going to talk about the horses, and the horses can show codominance too. The brown horse will cross, we will cross the brown horse with a white horse, and the F1 generation, the hybrid generation, will be spotted horse. So white horse with brown spots, or the brown horse with white spots. I'm not sure about that, but both of the alleles are present in the phenotype, what we will perceive. Now, we dealt so far with two alleles and one trait. Now, let's talk about multiple alleles. Why am I so slow? So, two alleles and that define one trait. Now we are going to talk about more than two alleles defining one trait. And this will be the blood type. We have the red blood cell. The red blood cell contains some carbohydrates on its surface, can contain, not all of them, depending on the genetic makeup of the organism. It can contain carbohydrate A, A type, A is a name for that, or carbohydrate B. Depending on what carbohydrates they contain on their surface, we distinguish between A and B type of a blood. The alleles can be IA and IB, but also there are some blood types that they contain no carbohydrates on the surface. We call it them lowercase I, and that means no carbohydrates on the surface. The I and the B acting like co-dominant alleles, and the I acts recessive relative to A and B. Now, people with type A blood, they can be homozygous dominant or heterozygous. Homozygous dominant, heterozygous. Type B people can contain IB and IB, so homozygous dominant or heterozygous. And type AB contains can be only one type, homozygous, and the type O can only be homozygous recessive. Pleiotropy. Pleiotropy means one gene can cause effect on many traits. Now again, red blood cells. Now, the red blood cell contains hemoglobin. The hemoglobin is important to carry oxygen from the lung to the different cells in the body. The allele for hemoglobin is hemoglobin. It's a dominant, and there's hemoglobin C at the top. This is a recessive allele. That's mutant, actually. So, if oxygen level is low in the blood, the hemoglobin C, the mutant hemoglobin start to crystallize the hemoglobin, and the red blood cell deforms, turns into a sickle cell. Less oxygen carrying capacity will happen in the blood. The person will be anemic. The red blood cells, these sickle ones, are going to clog small arteries, so problems in the heart, in the kidney, and all around in the brain too. So a person with homozygous dominant has no problem. A person with one recessive gene or sickle cell gene is the organism shows incomplete dominance because it's kind of normal. If the oxygen level high altitude happens, the oxygen content will be low and sickle cell will appear. But in a molecular way, it's co-dominant, both of them expressing its status. And the person who is homozygous recessive with the mutant genes, it's lethal, so they die really, really early in life, those people. Now, in the African American community and in the population, 1 out of the 10 people are carriers for that gene. Why is that? Is that accident? No, not really. Where they came from, in the tropical place, the malaria was a disease, and is a disease, a lethal disease. The protozoa that causes and gets into the blood cell, red blood cell, uses the red blood cell for its part of its life cycle, and parts of a life cycle. Now, in evolutionary wise, sickle cell allele is a selective advantage because the organism gets into a sickle cell prone red blood cell, the red blood cell will die and turns into sickle. Now, another one is polygenic inheritance. So many genes, alleles, have an addictive effect on one phenotype. We are not talking about only three genes, but many genes, and they have addictive effects. Skin color and eye color is an example for that. Now, finally, we have to talk about how the environment affects the phenotype. because it's not only in the genes. Nature versus nurture topic. Now, hydrangea, it's a flower again. It can, and you know that flower, your mom probably has it in her garden. When it can turn into purple when the soil is acidic, and it turns into red, actually pink, when the soil is basic, so higher than 7. So it's really, really interesting. Changing the soil, you can just change the phenotype, the pH of the soil. The other example is the western white butterfly. Now, the butterfly can hatch at the springtime, and springtime the butterfly will contain some dark spots on its wings, because these dark spots will absorb more thermal energy from the sun, solar energy, and will let the butterfly increase its temperature, and it will be able to fly away quicker. But at summertime, when they hatch, they barely have any black spots on their wings, because they don't want more energy for them, because it's already hot, and less black spots will prevent them from overheating